That's right. It's the 84th episode of Wayne's World and Kelly. And I want to thank all of our sponsors. We've got some of them back here. Before we get started, Wayne, well, as we get started, I just want to say that I'd like to welcome a new sponsor, Crest. We really don't have sponsors. It's all made up. We say it occasionally, we haven't said it in a while. I don't know, maybe a week ago, where someone says, it was when we were out in Naples. This guy comes up to me and he says, "Hey, Kelly, how much do you and Wayne make off sponsors on your show?" He goes, "Wow, that's amazing." Like, it's all made up, but none of them are sponsors. So it's we say it a lot, and sometimes even write it right in the post. But anyway,
right,
84
right. No,
non-sponsored shows. We love everybody. We figure anybody who watches the show is our true sponsor because that's what we do it for. We do it for the people. And today we have John Morris on the show. John, can you hear us? That sounds like a negative. His sound isn't working on his system. What, bro? Well, that's always exciting when this is live recorded. So what should we do, Wayne?
Oh, I think we should improvise like we do. So,
do you read lips?
No, I can't. But disregarding your comment about the sponsorship, if we did get money, you think I could do something about my background, right? I look like Batman here because I'm just in this dark, faceless hotel room in some expansive suburb in Minneapolis. So just on the road again, brother.
What we call living the dream. Look, I think
dude,
John.
Dude, can you see us?
I could see you. Can you hear me?
Oh my God, my brother. Now that's a professional right there. Looking good, my man. Looking really good. How are you?
Great. Thank you.
Dude,
where
thank
Minnesota
you.
Are you?
I'm in actually in Shakopee, Minnesota, home of Canterbury Downs.
Booming metropolis.
Booming metropolis. So what's the connection with you in Minnesota up in Chicago?
Yeah, I went to school in at St. Thomas.
That's right. You did, dude. I got so much stuff that I want to ask you, but can you let the world know what you're up to right now? Let's know what's going on.
Yeah, so I am in conversation for my next adventure. I resigned from my role 4 weeks ago.
Yep.
And did the whole 2-week thing, and I've been on this journey of. I initially was going to start a consulting firm on GTM. The whole go-to-market strategy, how to build out, the brand, how you essentially work it all the way through the marketing funnel and through the sales funnel. And I went to a networking event and I pitched them on my ideas of how to use podcasting and how to use content creation as a way to generate demand, lead generation, and then work that funnel. And I was sitting amongst several CEOs, and I guess they liked the idea because at the end of it, I had a couple of job interviews. And I've been in conversation for the last week, and I might have a pretty cool announcement here in the next few days.
So because you got the floor, tell us how that works. Okay. Exactly what you're talking about bringing it to market. How does that work?
Let me ask a question first. GTM, sure. That's gym, tanning, and miming?
Yes. As you can see, my tan is beautiful. So obviously that's clearly what it is. And then the miming, I'm always pulling.
Bring it back.
And then I don't want to be stuck in the box, So no, go-to-market strategy. So, first off, with branding, you really have to start with your core values. Like, what is your vision? What's your mission? What's your purpose? And what's your promise? And that needs to be absolutely entrenched in the internal culture of the organization. It needs to be messaged constantly, because what you're trying to do is get buy-in top to bottom. It can't just be the CEO out there talking about it all the time and nobody else is living it out. The only way other people are going to live it out is if you constantly and repetitively message it so that it becomes adopted. It can't be a compliance thing. It's got to be adopted. So that's the first thing, is how do you sit down and determine what your core values are. Now, core values are not something you aspire to be. They are what you actually are on a daily basis. What you aspire to be, that's a goal. You could shoot for that, but until you nail that goal, it's not a value. So that needs to be written out and described. That should transition into what your greater purpose as an organization is. And that isn't, if you're a contractor and you build homes, it's not building homes. There's a purpose behind that, creating an unbelievable experience for families to carry on their life, right? Something to that extent, something that means something. People tend to want to shoot for something that is going to hit the heart, not just the pocketbook or the mind. So that has to be described. And then what is your promise? If the promise is you're going to have a great price, that might be a challenging promise to have. You're going to have a race to the bottom. So there's got to be a promise beyond price. Speed to market, efficiency, ultra creativity. And that has to be clearly defined. Once you do that, then you can start to build out how you're going to create content. So the previous organization I worked at, the concept was we were going to establish all those things. And we're going to have a podcast where we're going to promote other people on the podcast. But I'm going to constantly instill our core values to the listeners. So we get it internally, and then we start pushing that message to the marketplace. So you have to give the market a reason to want to buy from you rather than I'm pitching you. So, hey, don't you like me? Right. And here's a great price. And by the way, here's 10 other companies we did it for. Those are all great things, and you have to have those. But you have to give them a reason to buy beyond it. So very persuasive types of messages that are attached to the core value. And once that podcast is going, you do the long form, and you guys know this, we're on a podcast, so you do the long form content. The real value is the brand impressions that you get from the short form clips. It's the clips that create the biggest response, because a long form podcast, let's be honest, unless you're Joe Rogan and you're talking about polarizing things like politics and aliens and all these other things he's talking about with unbelievably interesting people, nobody's staying on for 3 hours.
Right.
Most podcasts, 15 minutes. If you can get people to pay attention for 15 minutes, that's pretty good. If you can get them for a half hour, congratulations. That's amazing. They're loyalists. They're fans of your show. But the reality is the biggest impact is going to be the clips that you make off of the long form content and pushing them out on multiple platforms. That's how you create engagement. People don't engage with your Apple podcasts, right? They listen to it. You got to give them a way to find you. With clipping it into content pieces, you can send it out with different messages and then write copy to it with a call to action. So that turns into your lead generation. And
I know that, sorry to interrupt you, but man, you put up a post on LinkedIn. I don't know, it was a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, that certainly got my attention. And just talk a little bit about some of the folks that you've hobnobbed with and actually have photographic proof of.
Yeah.
I think, ranging from the Clintons to one of my heroes, Joe Montana.
He was awfully close to my wife in that picture, wasn't he? I mean, talk about
close to Jen, right?
Dude.
Man, again, I mean, go ahead, John. I mean, I'm not no celebrity worshiper, but dude, I mean, pretty rarefied air with some of these folks.
Yeah.
Pretty rarefied air.
I'm not a big celebrity worshiper either, but I had kind of thrown my past in the past. Right. And it's interesting when you resign from a job and you've got some time to go through things and you kind of are starting to go like, well, what's my pitch to my new employer? Like, what do I bring to the game? I had a really interesting climb, fall, and then reclimb.
Yeah.
It's been interesting.
Yeah.
I started
sounds normal.
Yeah. So I was a college dropout. I went to play baseball at St. Thomas. The guy in front of me was all everything and was getting drafted. I think he got drafted by the Rangers out of Division III. Okay.
Yep.
So he was 5 inches taller than me, ran the 40 a whole second faster, all those things. And it just wasn't going to work out. I had fought so hard to be a great player in high school. And then I got there. I thought it was going to be easy street. I didn't love baseball enough to work that hard.
Okay.
So I transferred to Illinois State, got there and it was just overwhelming for me. I didn't want to be in college. I want to be a marine initially. I owned my own business throughout college. I was a painting contractor throughout college. I had the entrepreneurial spirit. I shut all that down to go to college and I couldn't stand it. I'm sitting in business classes listening to professors and I'm like, have you ever even run a business? I've run one for 4 years. Like, you have any idea what it's like to knock on a door and have some dude tell you to get off his front porch and you have to overcome that and then get a down payment for $1,000 to paint a house for $5,000? Do you have any idea what that's like? Because I do it like weekly and I'm listening to this guy and I'm like, you have no clue what you're talking about. This is all out of a So I said, screw it.
I love it.
Familiar? So I said, screw it. And
this reminder of an old podcast we had a couple months ago. So go keep going. It was the other side of that conversation. I'm with you 100%. You got to do it.
I mean, you got to do it. The only way to do something is to do it. And I bury my face in a book. I don't know. I like to read books that are self-help, that are intellectual. I don't like instructional books. I like to look by failure and I keep going. Amen. So I went out in the marketplace and of course, nobody wants to hire somebody without a degree because, in a 15-minute interview, you can really tell who I am. But by the way, you can also tell who I am by a sheet of paper. And now it's 25 years later and I'm still getting that. Like, come on, people. Now it's bots. Now it's bots looking at keywords, defining whether or not I'm the right guy. Okay, like, come on.
But if you use AI to your resume, you are money.
Oh, yeah. Like, my guys. Yeah, just send them a link. And it just.
That's how I hire my people.
His career has been 25 years long,
Right.
So anyways, eventually I get an opportunity to go into inside sales for a small business consulting firm. And this consulting firm was at one point the fastest growing company in the history of the state of Illinois. I get in there and it's Boiler Room and Wolf of Wall Street before anyone knew about them. I mean, it's intense. And they sit me next to this older gentleman who's been like the #1 guy for years. And he's the kind of guy, like, if you had a bad call, he's like, that sucked. You'll never do well at this if you're going to do that. That was terrible. Like, just a bull in a china shop kind of a delivery. So, when you get in that environment, it's fight or flight. And I knew that I had no choice. I'm on a straight commission gig. My parents had moved to Florida. They said, hey, man, you're cut off. You drop out of school, you're cut off. So figure it out.
Jesus.
So don't call me up. Don't ask me for money. I was so mad at them. It was the greatest parenting ever.
Yep.
Because the first 5 years of my life, I did out of spite. And then eventually I came around and I forgave them. But
I'll show you.
Like, I will show you who I am. I sure as shit did. So, I start off in this inside sales. I'm calling up small business owners throughout the United States. I'm getting the leads that are 4 weeks old that 10 other people have called. There's 50 VMs on it, like voicemail March 15th, voicemail March 16th, voicemail March 17th, right? Talk to client, hung up after 5 minutes. These are all handwritten notes. And those are the leads I'm getting because I'm the rookie guy. So I get really good at this. And the deal is, if you can sell one in a day, you make $300. They pay you the next day. And if you could sell, or actually, if you sell one, you get $200. Sell two, you get $450. Sell three in a day, $900. They pay you the next day. So I started figuring out by month 5, after tough guys teaching me, I figured out by month 5 how to close 3 in a day. So I'm 22, 23 years old. I'm making about $700 a day. Like, just closing deals over the phone, and have no appreciation for how much money I'm making. I'm like, because I'm driving into a parking lot that looks like Motorworks. And so I'm like, okay, so next thing you know, like, I'm getting the car and I'm in the game. Well, I got moved to recruiting after cash collecting $1.2 million my first year as a rookie. Which I guess was not heard of. Not many people did that. And But I said to the guy, I'm like, you got to get me out of this boiler room thing. Like I'm going nuts over here. So I either need to go to the outside where I can go get in front of people, or you got to move to a different position. He goes, all right, well, we got a recruiting spot open. So he moved me to recruiting, which was really cool because now I'm selling, but I'm selling people on coming to do what I just did for a year. Right.
That you don't ever want to do again.
And I never want to do it again, but I'm like, you got to do it. It's amazing.
This is awesome.
Yeah, it's so good.
Look at my paychecks.
So yeah, exactly. That's what I was doing. I'm like, check out this stuff. So we went from, they were hiring about 10 people every 2 weeks. My first training class had 45 people in it. And the next one, now you could tell the turnover. Like people come in for 3 days, there's like, I have no shot at doing this, and they leave. So I would have to hire 60 to keep 3. You know what I mean? It was like that. And guess what? Those 3 went on to make bank, you know, and eventually became part of the fiber of the company. Well, what the owner and the owner's son were listening to me on a screening call, and they said, "Hey, look, we're looking for a sales senior executive. We're gonna have you come over and do this." So by 24, I was put into a sales senior executive, 6-figure salary, bonuses, just crazy. Like 24 years old, no idea what I'm doing, and now I'm managing 50 straight commission salespeople and 35 telemarketers to head up the Atlantic Coast region. And by 26, I was the #1 guy in managing that. By 27, I was handed a brand new division that was about 5 million. We took it to 12 million first year. We took it to 40 million second year. Wow. And next thing you know, I got a name for myself, and I'm on this fast track, and I'm just going. And again, no appreciation for money. You know, I grew up in an affluent family. Parents cut me off. I was broke for a minute. And then all of a sudden I just figured out this sales thing, and boom, like it just happened. And now I'm 32 years old. I got the McMansion, and I'm winning awards. But yeah, you can see one of the awards behind, I think directly behind me over my head, was the 2005 MVP of the company award. About a $270 million company. I got MVP for the company, and the award was handed to me by the owner with Joe Montana sitting next to him. Yeah. And I mean, that was just absolutely unbelievable. But part of the makeup of this company was the way that they motivated people. Was there was just constant incentive, daily incentive, weekly incentive, monthly incentive, yearly incentive. And the guest speakers that we would have to our gala at the end of the year were, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, George Bush, Henry Kissinger, Kurt Schilling. So I met Henry Kissinger, Kurt Schilling, Bill Russell. I mean, you name it. And because I was in the inner circle of like top 40 people out of an 800 person company, I was invited to the pre-cocktail party. So I got to hang. Jenny would come up with me, and we get to go hang out with Joe Montana for 2 hours before we would go down to the party. Right. It was just unbelievable. The company then ran into some issues. Those issues did not align with my moral compass. I walked away from huge money, thinking, hey, look, if I did it here, I could do it somewhere else. What I learned really fast was you should have a backup plan. And by the way, they don't hand out those salaries just because you did it at one place.
You're right.
I was like, well, they're going to surely look at my resume. Like,
of course,
bring in the box of awards with you to the interview.
Excuse me, where's your degree?
That was what I was getting. Like, well, you don't have a college degree. And you go at this one place, you're not diversified enough. So I'm penalized for being loyal. Okay, that makes sense. And then you go to another place. Now I had a gap in between, and you go to another place. It's like, why did you leave after 4 months? Like, which one do you want? The loyalist or the guy who's fickle? Like, which one is it? So the whole interviewing process is crazy. But yeah, that process of hanging out with really powerful people that are champions, you get humbled really quick.
You bet.
You realize that the deals that you are closing in the grand scheme of things, nobody but you and that client have any idea that happened. So,
Right.
and these people are changing the world, and you are changing a $3 million company for a few weeks.
Right, right. And just the fact, like, I'm just gonna, before I walked away from politics because everything is so crazy, um, my degree is actually in international relations, and I've always had just a big affinity for world leaders, and Henry Kissinger is one of them, right? So,
Yeah.
my college advisor actually participated in the SALT 1 and 2 talks for all the younger folks out there. That's acronym is Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty. So she was at these negotiations with Henry Kissinger. So just the fact that you mentioned him, iconic, divisive, world statesman, all of the above. And, like you said, being humbled. You haven't, no offense, brother, you haven't done shit compared to what those guys have done.
Oh my
But
God.
this, right, dude, but to still be in that, I'm going to call it rarefied air. Okay, let's call it what it is. We ain't no celebrity worships here between us three, but I'm going to acknowledge it. I think that's pretty cool, dude.
It was pretty cool. And I got to tell you, Henry Kissinger is a little PTSD for me because 2005 was a great year. 2006, I actually had a better year, but the owner decided that it was a good time to put me in my place. So he sits me at the head table, like the table in front of in front of the like head table. So there's like 10 people. Henry's up there and I'm in the one right in front. Traditionally, that table, every person at that table won an award. Had me go last and gave the award. I went from 28 million in cash collect to 36 million in cash collect from 2005 to 2006. And he decided it was a good time to put me in my place that day. Jenny's sitting next to me, pregnant with our first child. And not only did I not get the award, but he also goes, the division that I run, he says, the division that, or this division didn't have a great year. And I just want to apologize to everybody and we'll get it right next year.
Wow.
And it absolutely destroyed me. So I went on for about another year. Then I got recruited by one of the analysts that was a top analyst there who went up and started a boutique shop. I went off and ran their sales department there. But it gave me PTSD. I mean, literally, like, have you seen the movie Me, Myself, and Irene when he shifts from like when he has like the shift like that had like it went off and it triggered me bad. And I had a lot of that owner was like a hero to me in a certain, I'd like everything that I knew about business at that time and how to hustle and how to overcome objections and how to communicate, how to public speak. I learned from watching him. And then he humiliated me in front of 800 people, or actually 1,000 people. It was the top people and their spouses. And they all knew. And all these people were coming up to me afterwards like, hey, are you okay? And then I was like, okay, so you saw it too. And it was a gut punch. And you want to talk about getting humbled. And it hurt. It hurt bad. So I actually walked away from that company. And then I spent about 5 years in hell, if you want to be honest. And that's what I'm talking about. Like I was on a fast track climb, got humiliated. The company started to do some things that didn't align with my moral compass. I walked away, went to another company, took that company from, 1.8 million to 9.8 in 2 years. And then that owner sued my new owner and I had to go back to the old owner because he ran the business into the ground. So that was painful. And then I went through this like period where just nobody wanted to touch me. Nobody wanted to hire me. Nobody wanted to give me a shot and pretty much lost everything. And then from 2014 till now have been building it back. Pretty crazy.
What do you attribute that? So that's interesting as far as, reaching the heights, reaching the pinnacles of success that you did. And all of a sudden it's taken away. I can only imagine, the self-reflection and everything that you did to put yourself back together again. Do you have that seminal moment? This is something that Kelly and I always like to talk about with people like you. Give me the seminal moment where, man, I'm at the lowest of low. I'm turning this shit around right now because my life is at stake along with my family's. Did you have one of those?
I've had it a few times. One would have been in 2016, in about June of 2016. I just looked in the mirror and I'm like, what happened? You know,
Right. Right.
you know, like we had to sell the house and just kind of just limping through life,
Right.
feeling
Right.
sorry for myself, all that stuff.
Yep.
And, you know, one day I woke up and I was like, man, this is bad. You got to go get help. Like I was like, and I'm not afraid to say it. Like I went and got therapy and,
You bet. Yep.
And had to talk through it because I just had this like blockage. I could not get out of the like, and it would just kept going back to the same thing. Like, how did this happen?
Right.
Like, what did you do? Like, what happened? And that was one moment. I got to tell you, Wayne, I had the real pinnacle moment actually happened last year, December 19th. I could tell you, I got a God tap, man. Like a true wake up call. And
okay.
Just in a tough spot, spiraling and not thinking right. And all of a sudden, like things came clear and I started a completely different pattern of life. So since that moment, I essentially stopped drinking. I stopped smoking. I was a 30-year smoker. I haven't had a drink since. Just lifestyle change, right? 23 pounds lost, working out every other day. Changed my diet completely. I wake up every morning, I journal.
Yep.
First thing I do, something of gratitude. I thank something. I'm so thankful for this or whatever it is. And then I write out what I am, not what I hope to be. I write down what I am. So I write down what I hope to be as if I already am that. And I have completely changed my mindset in 85, 90 days. Completely changed my mindset. So, I mean, I would literally wake up in the morning and I have this journal. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I write it 3 times in the morning. So it could be something as simple as I am strong.
Yep.
Okay. I'll write that 3 times. Noon, I come back, I write it 6 times. Then right before I go to bed, I write it 9 times. The 3-6-9 method. And it just solidifies my brain. So the last thing I think about when I go to sleep is that affirmation. And when you sleep, you hit something called your superconscious, right? There's a conscious, subconscious, and then there's your superconscious. Your superconscious is what you got rid of when you were about 11 years old, when people told you that you weren't Spider-Man anymore and you had to stop doing that. When people told you that you weren't a professional baseball player and you had to stop doing that. Before that, at 5, you were Superman and nobody could tell you otherwise. And you believed it. And you thought in your mind you were doing Superman stuff. And then at some point, the world gets to you, society gets to you, mankind gets to you and tells you that you are less than. You have limitations. And so I stopped believing in limitations. And what's interesting is when I look back to when I was 22, I was in a super conscious moment. I was having an out-of-body experience. Nobody could tell me otherwise. I walked in, they gave me a phone, they gave me a stack of leads. I said, okay, here we go. And I just went. There was no limitations. Nobody told, like, it was do or die. And in my mind, I was doing it. And it's not until somebody tells you you have a limitation that you believe you have a limitation. And then what ends up happening is when they tell you that, you start to tell yourself that. Once that happens, you're screwed. Now you got the world telling you you can't do it, and you're telling you can't do it. The world's always going to tell me I can't do it.
Right.
They're just going to. So I said, forget you. I'm not going to be the one who's going to do that. No matter how much my family and friends love me, they still want to see me mess up a little bit because they don't want me to be better than them.
Well, John, I do have to inform you that you are not Superman because I am.
Oh, damn it. But look at the headlock you got me in. That was pre-beard.
That freaking bad or what? It looks just like you, but that guy was.
It's amazing.
That guy was a
sweatshirt.
That's what he was a champion boxer out of Europe. And I go, when we did that picture, I go, please, this is just a picture. Do not hurt me.
It's just a photo shoot.
Yeah. Put him in the headlock.
I'm trying to hit that super conscious. So what's been amazing is now all of a sudden I start dreaming that I'm strong. I start dreaming that I have no limitations. I start believing these things. And I got to tell you now, all of a sudden you start going, why do I have to work for somebody else? Why don't I start my own consulting firm? Why do I have to have one podcast? Why don't I have 3? I have to tell you the imagination that hit me from doing this, the notes that I have that came into clarity of detail, being able to see it in my mind, put it on paper, and then believe it without limitation. It started happening.
Yep.
So now these offers that I'm getting happen because I went to a networking event and I pitched my imagination and they all came up. They were like, my God, your energy. It didn't even matter what I pitched. I had good vibration and I was in harmony with everyone in the room. And they were like, dude, whatever this guy does, the energy level, I believe it.
Right.
And that has been a 180 for me.
So, yeah, I mean, you and I certainly practice the same thing with the law of attraction, manifesting vibrational energy. You are the creator of your own reality. When I met you, it was November of last year. So you were 1 month away from your wake up call and how you initiated it.
You met me in a tough spot, dude. I was faking it.
Okay. Yeah. Because I'll tell you what, I remember sitting next to you and you must have done a pretty good job of faking it, because I like to think that I'm a pretty good, I got good street smarts and the ability to pick up someone's energy. And when you were pinging me, it was all good. And I remember making the comment to your wife about, wow, I'd like to get to know John more, this, that, and the other thing, which leads us to where we are right now. And you are certainly proof positive of, one of my favorite sayings is, behind a strong person is a story that gave them no choice. Okay. And your candid acknowledgement of the highs of the highest to the lows of the lowest, to actually the, reclamation project of putting yourself back together, of where we're talking right now, is one that most certainly is going to resonate with our audience, because the vast majority of the people that we have on are achievers, super achievers, folks that always want to wake up and do the best that they can. Kelly, I'm sorry I'm monopolizing this, but I'm endlessly fascinated with this, and I know we're bumping up against it. You got anything for John before we have to let him go?
I think I've already informed him the big news that he's not Superman. But
I had a letter.
I think it's great. It's almost getting redundant, but it's like, here's another guy we need to have on. We've done 84 episodes. I don't mean to brag or anything, but who was it I just saw? I guess Michelle Obama got a huge contract for doing podcasts. She's done 3 so far in the last year. Wow.
Do you know only 2% of podcasts make it to 100? So you're well on your way. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. If you make it to 100, you're in a 2% rarefied air.
The average podcast lasts less than 3.
Yep.
Some couple just came out with it. I call it COVID brain. It could be being 60, almost 61. But there's another couple who they started a podcast like 9 months ago, and they've done 3. And I'm like, yeah, people get it together. And I agree with your snippets. We are technically challenged. The only one worse than me is Wayne. But we are getting to accomplish what we want to get accomplished, and we get incredible feedback. And bringing people on like you is a huge deal. I do have one announcement before we cut off. On April 4th, down here in Wellington, there's going to be a golf tournament for children's cancer. Derek, what's Derek's last name?
Dude, you're struggling right now. He's your buddy too.
I know. He's a very good friend of mine. I'm blanking
He
on Derek's
actually
last name.
went to 2 of his golf tournaments and he can't even remember his last name.
But Derek does it. He played for a team called the Texas Rangers.
Okay. What position?
And he's been on our podcast
Pitcher.
a couple times. He pitched twice in 10 and 11 in the World Series.
Oh yeah.
Great guy. He 37 years old. He does a pediatric cancer nonprofit, which is
he's
fantastic.
a starting pitcher. Yeah.
He was a starting pitcher for a
I can
decade.
see him in my mind.
Yeah, that's not Chubbin. But it's Derek Holland. That's not Chubbin, was his nickname.
Yep.
Hey, Derek, if you're watching today, sorry, buddy, senior moment. But so there's a woman who I don't even want to tell the story because it's too long and I hate it. But they now we're doing a golf event down here on April 4th. I'll get more information out to everybody, but I just found out about it yesterday and it's right around the corner. But I mean, there's so many things we want to do to help that has a lot more to do with just us making money or us doing whatever. It's helping other people. When we put ourselves in a position where we can help others, I think that's the winning in life. You know, when people, I live amongst the wealthy of the wealthiest in the world. And so many of them are driving their Bentleys and their Rolls and their Ferraris, and they're unhappy. And a lot of times nobody's riding shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And to me, if we can do things to help others, I will give away more money than I'll ever make, hopefully, because that's where I find joy. And I find that's where we can really have impact on others. There's people like Tinkerbell, who helps the kids down in Miami whose parents are in jail. There's all these successful people that the real happiest ones are the ones that are going out and helping other people. So there's my little preacher moment. But
well, that's brilliant. That's brilliant personal branding. It's brilliant purpose. And by the way, that's great for the overall brand as well.
100%.
It's not all about
like
how much
you said,
you generate. It's how much you impact others, right?
When you worked for a company that was paying you a ton of money and everything looked great, but when their moral compass wasn't in alignment with yours, you made a great decision. Even probably had a little peril on the family for a little while, but it did it overall.
It also took a long time to recover because my moral compass wasn't right either at the time, right?
Right.
So there's that, and that's part of that discovery process. And you guys, just in the context that you just put that in, it all starts with that. And that's where I was not starting with in life. And now I feel amazing because you guess what? You do get second chance. You get third chances. You get fourth
yes, you do.
You get all kinds of chances. And, you know, I always feel like there's all kinds of paths you can go down in life. And cool, if you take the wrong one, turn around, go back and take the right one. You can always stop and turn, throw it in reverse, baby.
Right.
Oh,
right. Yeah, John, can we have you on again in a few months? I'd like to keep your story in front of everybody, I guess, as far as, you know, from this podcast about what you have to share. I think is absolutely critical to our audience as far as the candid and authenticity of your story. So Kelly and I would be honored to host you again in the near future if you'd like to. I'd
love to. And by the way, stay tuned because there's going to be a podcast coming from the golf course. We're going to do a podcast from the golf course with CEOs and executives and athletes and all types of people. I cannot wait. We're going to have one in the studio and then one while playing golf. It's going to be on a YouTube channel.
Very
and
cool.
It's a new way of getting the content out and showing CEOs the lighter side of a CEO. Oftentimes, CEOs are shown only in the light of the boardroom setting. They have to be so put together and so on brand and so all of that. That's not endearing to their staff. And it also doesn't allow the marketplace to feel who they are as a human being. I feel like if we put them on a golf course, good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't matter what their swing is. And we connect the philosophy of business, right? How do you get to a profit? And we tie that to how do you get to the green and get it in the hole? There's similarities there, right?
I love it.
So that's going to be the concept. And so stay tuned for that. Follow me on LinkedIn and you will see this podcast coming out soon. And then hopefully you'll subscribe to the YouTube channel. And we've got
100%.
we got some folks lined up that are not just, a CEO, but folks that are, influencers and athletes. If you're
great,
some hockey players.
the great Mark McCormick, who unfortunately passed a few years ago, but he was the guy that built the Arnold Palmer brand. He wrote the book, Everything They Don't Teach at Harvard Business School and Everything They Still Don't Teach at Harvard Business School. And he hired MBAs all the time. And he says, and then I had to rebuild them because they were idiots.
Absolutely.
But he used to say, you want to get to know somebody, take them golfing. It doesn't make a difference if they're good or not. It's their behavior on the golf course. That's when you really meet who the person is.
100%. Yep. Look, if you have a different routine on every shot, that's how you do business too. You fly from the hip.
Amen.
Right? If you're very structured in the way that you line up a putt, and by the way, I can also tell how good of a golfer you are. Do you just look at it from one side, or do you walk it, you feel it with your feet, and you walk to the other side and look? Because guess what? There are some breaks that look, if you look directly from behind the ball, it looks like it's going to break one way. When you go walk to the other side and look at it, all of a sudden you see grain. You see that it's a little bit downhill at the last second, right? There's all types of things that you pick up. If that's the way that you do things on the golf course, there's a strong likelihood that before you hit the enter button on content, or before you hit the enter button on a sales proposal that you send out, you've looked at it from every angle and you aren't leaving any loose ends. So there's a lot you can compare there.
But there's several ways to address a golf ball, and everybody does it different. But a lot of it is just how your attitude is. It was so funny. We're playing with a guy last Saturday, and he says, "Oh, guys, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but the ball breaks towards the water." And we're like, it's like, dude, please tell me you've known that for decades. He's like, "Hey, I just found out something really new. I need to share this with you."
Wow, thank you,
like,
genius.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah.
Hey,
so we're not supposed to park our car on the street. We're supposed to actually pull it into the parking lot. Great. Thanks for that bit of information.
Thank you very much. Yes.
It's also how somebody deals with adversity. If they just shake it off, do they take it too serious? What do they take serious? What they don't? It's not all, because trust me, if businessmen were just all great golfers, we'd be in a lot of trouble.
I look at people too.
James LaGreca is my business partner, and one of the best business partners a man could ever have. Sucks on the golf course, but who he is on the golf course translates to who he is in real life, and you realize, you know what? He's like, this isn't a priority. I'm just here to have a little fun.
Yeah.
But when it comes to business, he is the real deal. So it trust me, it's not how good you are or how bad you are. And
it's the habits, like you said.
Reaction.
I got to tell you too, with salespeople, you can see it as well, because the mind doesn't hear don't. Right.
Right.
That's only 2 trees I can hook it around.
Yeah. And the difference between an average golfer and a professional is a professional looks at all of the hazards first and then picks the target and never stops looking at the target. And that's when you hear them talking to their caddy, they're like, camera tower, a camera tower, you want to be about 10 yards back, spin it back, right? And that's the last swing thought. And then they'll go trust it, right? And that's it. That's all they're thinking about. An average golfer looks at the target and then looks at all the hazards and goes, oh shit, don't hit it in there. Well, guess what? I don't hear don't. The ball is going in there because you just told it to.
Right, dude.
And if you don't tell it to yourself and I'm in your foursome, I'm mentioning it to you.
Yeah. If there's money on the line, I'm going to remind you.
Watch out for that water.
By the way,
watch out for that water over there.
Yeah, the ball also goes, the grain goes to the water, guys. Even with your 7-iron from the tee box.
Right.
Everybody have a wonderful day. This has been a blast, John. Looking forward to having you back on. And and a lot of big news coming up all over the place.
Yeah.
Follow John Morris on LinkedIn. John, appreciate you, brother. You tell Jen I said hello, and I will be seeing her in a couple of weeks when I get to my Chicago market. And I appreciate you, brother. Okay.
Cheers. Appreciate the opportunity to speak on your platform. Be well.
All right.
Hey, guys.